Well, happy Monday. Um, this is the NASM Elite recording for Show Up Fitness, helping you guys pass your NASM CPT. I'm Ashley. Good to see you. I see we have a few people on here. Jenna, I know you're having trouble with your mic, so if you get that figured out, feel free to unmute. We're going to be going over the OPT model today and just some key terms for you guys to help you pass. But just a few details. We do have these Zooms every single day, which is awesome. I'm usually Mondays, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard. I know that Chris does 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Tuesdays. Jorge does his call on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. And if you are Spanish speaking, then you would want to plug into that call because he does that call in Spanish. Megan, your girl Megan, is at 4 p.m. on Thursdays. And then Travis, who usually does anatomy in the Show Up Fitness app, he does Fridays at 1 p.m. So really awesome calls to plug into to help you guys pass. If you are within your 30-day period of buying your NASM cert, you guys try to get a refund because we can help you become not just certified, but qualified. And if you're outside of that refund window, which I know a lot of people are, plug into our program because we can help you pass that thing in 30 days. We've done it for, I think it's over 3,000 people now. And Chris Hitchko, which is the owner and runs Show Up Fitness, he even wrote a book that you can get on Amazon, How to Become a Professional Certified Personal Trainer, and help you not only become certified, but qualified. So we're really excited to give you these calls and, help you out. So, hey, Jenna, I think you got it figured out. Yeah. With your microphone.
Yeah, I finally got it. Thank you.
Well, thanks for plugging in today. How's studying
going?
going?
I'm happy. It's going okay. I am struggling with the OPT model and learning all the reps and sets for all the different ones. It's hard for me to memorize that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this call will help you. We'll be going over some things that may or may not be on your test. A lot of people give us feedback that OPT model is one of the things that they cover typically, as well as the overactive, underactive muscles. So we're going to be going over some of that today. And if you have any questions along the way, you can either drop it in the chat or unmute yourself during the Zoom, and we're happy to answer your questions. So when is your test again?
It's the first week of May. So okay. I have some time, but definitely working hard on the study guide and all the material.
Good. You got time. So we're going to help you with that. All right. So the way that I have understood it, when they go over periodization and basically creating the NASM way of programming, they're going to go over the OPT model, which has 5 phases. So do you know what those 5 phases are?
I'm sorry, I'm multitasking. I know some of them. I know the first one is the stabilization. The next one is strength. The next one is it used to be called hypertrophy, but is it maximal strength? And I'm kind of not sure about the last 2. I know one of them is power.
Mm-hmm. So you've got phase 1 is the stabilization endurance. Phase 2 is your strength endurance. Phase 3 is the muscular development. So you were close. Phase 4 is the maximal strength. And then phase 5 is your power. So phase 3, the muscular development, that used to be called hypertrophy. And it is hypertrophy, but now they're calling it muscular development. So do you know the tempo for muscular development?
The tempo for muscular development. I'm not sure. Is it the like the 2-0?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. The 2-0-2-0.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. And so to touch on periodization, you may or may not see that on your test. But do you know what periodization is? As it relates to the OPT model?
Is it how you set out planning the workouts for your client and which stages and phases you're going to go with? Like you can have undulating. I don't know. Is that on the right track?
Yeah, you got it. It's just basically the planned manipulation of training and how you take people through that over time to improve their performance. And so there's 3 different cycles to that. Do you know what they are?
Is linear one of them?
So think of it in terms of length of time. So you have the microcycle, and then you have the mesocycle and the macrocycle. Do you know how long the microcycle is?
No.
That would be
I don't.
the weekly or daily. So you can think you can think in your mind micro as like smaller. So weekly or daily would be the smaller amount of time to program. And then as they progress to the mesocycle, that would be, do you know how long that would be?
The meso, sorry, I have both my kids with me. I'm not sure.
Okay. That would be the monthly. So you can think of it kind of progressing through weekly, then to monthly. And then the macro cycle would be, so you have micro, and you have meso, and the macro would be big, right? So how long do you think the macro cycle would be?
So you said meso would be about 2 weeks, or
Well,
up
if
to a month?
mesocycle is monthly, then
It's monthly. Then what would the macro be? Like maybe a 3-month period or 6-month, or is that too large?
No, it would actually be annual. So it could be
annual, really. Okay.
You know, you could program 3-month or 6-month, but those terms specifically for NASM would be annual. So the test is going to be multiple choice, and they're most likely going to give you, 2 probably really poor answers that you would be able to eliminate, and then maybe 2 that would be close together. One of them would be correct. So as long as you know that micro is weekly, meso is monthly, and then macro big would be annual. Then that kind of gives you a good idea of how, when you put your NASM hat on from their mentality, you would be starting to use the OPT training model to create programs for clients, right? So let's talk about the oh, go ahead.
With a macro plan, are there trainers that, I mean, would that be like a detailed plan or kind of like a general hope of where your client's going?
I think it would be based on what you would, from the NASM mentality, what you would create for them based on how you want to take them through all of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, the details of specific workouts of the week, that would be a microcycle. And it's usually 7 days, but depending on the client schedule, it could expand to 10 if needed. So if you see 7 to 10 days, then most likely it would be a microcycle, which is weekly. And then the mesocycle, it divides the training plan into monthly cycles, how you would take people through the OPT model, which details the specific days of each workout and style of the training used. And then annual would be like taking it month to month to meet the desired goal. So those are key phrases that you can kind of look for whenever they're talking about periodization, which are basically programming methods within the OPT model. And when you mentioned linear earlier, so it could be undulating or linear, like you said. So can you describe to me what the linear method looks like?
I'm not 100% sure
That's okay.
what it looks like. I'm kind of picturing that it follows the OPT model more closely, and that undulating you might skip around the phases, but I'm not sure.
So linear, it gradually increases the intensity of the training load while simultaneously decreasing volume over a set period of time. So they might define it for you and then give you, 4 different options within an exam question. Undulating, it's also known as nonlinear. And it uses changes in volume, intensity, and exercise selection to provide loading differences on a daily or weekly basis. So what I would do is I would just flashcard those and kind of go over those terms and be able to pick out the difference. And I know that if you're able to, these are pretty direct questions without examples of what they look like. So if you're able to pick those out of the air, you would know that you know them pretty well. But I would just flashcard them and go over them periodically. But the acute variables within, those different programs, that's how you're going to be able to fit those into the OPT model from the NASM perspective. So you, Jenna, you mentioned that you were struggling a little bit with the OPT model. Do you have any questions about ways to study those, or do you feel like it's just something that you need a flashcard and go over often?
In terms of the amount of reps and all of those details, do you have suggestions on the best way to study for that, or do you think it's just flashcard and hope that it sticks?
Yeah, so I think it's a good idea to listen to the material, but also write it out. So studying these during the time of day that that you're going to be taking your test, I think would be really effective. I know that Megan and Chris with Show Up Fitness, they have done excellent YouTube videos where you can just create a playlist of some of their shorts that go over the OPT model, some key terms that you might want to, memorize. Listening to it is really, really helpful. But then also when you write them down, you could literally just list out all of the acute variables for each phase and then put what the phase is on the back of the card. So that as you're listening, you're writing it down. There have been studies that show that when you write it down, you are much more likely to retain that information. And then so when you take your test and the question pops up, not only have you studied by listening to it, writing it, speaking it, and seeing it, you're going to be able to remember the answer much more quickly, and your recall will be faster if you have done all of those things. So while you're driving in the car, while you're cooking or doing laundry or taking care of your kids, you could be listening to those YouTube videos. And then later when you have alone time or at night after the kids have gone to bed, maybe that's when you write your flashcards and you go over them so that you've already heard the material, you're reinforcing it that way, but you're writing it down. That is, a higher percentage that you're going to be able to retain that and then study it visually. Because I know not everybody has the same amount of time to study, but I know that as like a fellow mom, I completely understand. My daughter's 6, she's young, and you don't always have like 2 or 3 hours to sit and study, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like right now, I'm trying to get my kids into a class and study in between those
Yeah.
moments of rushing around. Yeah.
I totally get it. It's a juggling act, but I can tell you that reinforcing that, showing up for these calls like you've done today, that is going to help you tremendously over time. And I know since you said that your test is in May, right? You're going to have plenty of time to listen to it. And then if you would just make your flashcards and study them at night, you're going to be able to train your brain to retain that information faster. So I know that the acute variables, like just being able to say them really quickly whenever you hear it, that all that is repetition. So for example, the stabilization endurance, one thing that I think would be really helpful for you to think about is the progressions and regressions within the OPT model as well. Just knowing the exercises that are attributed to each phase. You may or may not see questions on that. Just the understanding of how it applies to programming. For example, do you know what phase that the stability ball squat and curls, like stability ball squat curls to press, what phase of the OPT model that is in? You're not, oh, I see you're in the chat. You said you're not sure. So anything that has to do with stability or a Bosu ball or single leg, that would be phase 1, because that is stabilization endurance. Do you know how long that you would have a client from the NASM mentality stay in phase 1 stability? Do you know how many weeks that would be? That would be 4 to 6 weeks, and then they could progress on to the next. Do you know for how long that somebody would foam roll overactive muscles for?
Like per time, like how many seconds they would hold it.
Mhm.
In the stabilization, is it 30 seconds?
Yes, that's correct.
Or yeah, okay.
Yep, you got it. Do you know the tempo for phase 1?
4, 2, 1, 1.
Mm-hmm. And do you know how many sets that would be?
Is this the one with the high? Is it? You said how many sets?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I knew, but I'm not sure.
That's okay. It's 1 to 3 sets. Do you know the intensity for phase 1?
Is it? It's the lower intensity, but I don't know exactly.
Yep, it would be 50 to 70%. So you're right, that is the lowest one. How about which phase of the OPT model has supersets?
That's in strength, right? Or no,
Mhm.
must be. Okay, it's
Yep.
strength and do I need to know which does that happen throughout the whole strength section of the OPT model or a
Well, just
specific
in the
phase?
strength endurance, but there is
Strength
one
endurance,
more
okay.
phase that has supersets in it. Do you know what it is?
Um, is it in power or?
It is, yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
phase 5 has supersets as well. Do you know how long that you would stay in the strength endurance phase? How many weeks?
I'm not sure. Is it about 6 weeks?
Yep, it's 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
And so, do you know examples of some supersets that you might see in phase 2?
Like maybe a bench press and a push-up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So stable into unstable. So bench press to a push up would be an example. That's great. Squat to a step up to balance would be another one you might see. A pull up to a single arm cable row would be another one. So those are good to know. Maybe military press into a ball combo would be another. How about what is the phase that's important for adding size?
For adding size, is that the maximal strength?
So that's going to be hypertrophy, which is
Okay.
which phase?
3.
Yep, muscular development.
Okay.
And so do you know what the rest time is for hypertrophy, according to NASM?
Is it a 60-second rest?
Yep, 0 to 60 seconds.
Okay.
You might see 0 to 30 seconds. If you see that, that's always hypertrophy, 0 to 30 seconds. But according to NASM, it's 0 to 60 would be the muscular development hypertrophy phase. Do you know what the percentage intensity would be for hypertrophy?
Is it like 60 to 70? I'm not 100% sure.
That's okay. Close. It's 75 to 85%.
Okay.
So yeah, I would just write these out and I would quiz yourself every single day on a note card. Similar to this, just like a flashcard, you write all of the acute variables down on the back, write phase 3 of the OPT, and then just over and over and over again. That's what I would do. You could also, like I said, watch some of the Show Up Fitness YouTube videos so you could hear it. That was really helpful. I know it's helpful for a lot of people to hear it as well as see it and write it, speak it. So you're just reinforcing it over and over and over again. Let's see. How are you on some of the key terms that are in the study guide? Have you gone over many of those?
I'm working on it. I'm not sure, you know, I've been studying alone and like reading over the study guide. I can try to see what I know with you.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
What I would do, and what I did when I was studying for mine is I would go on walks when I had time and I would listen I would listen to those videos. And then, like I said, after that, after writing it out and then having the study guide in front of me, it wasn't just like reading information that I had never seen before. It was more like, okay, I'm looking at this, it's similar information, just in different scenarios within the NASM mentality of it. And it helped me really gauge, okay, if I was given a scenario of where these muscles are in the body, superior, inferior, you know, knowing where they are, you're going to be able to answer those questions, because they might have questions for you that are several levels into understanding, being able to identify the muscle that they're talking about, knowing if it's overactive, underactive, short or tight, knowing what the agonist, synergist, antagonist, you know, the stabilizer muscles, like what those are for the scenario that they're talking about. Those are some things that you will want to study and be able to answer. You know, knowing certain terms that are associated with each other. So for example, the term that states that a prolonged Golgi tendon stimulation inhibits muscle spindles of the same muscle. Do you know what that is?
Is it like autogenic, or I can kind of see it in my head, but I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Autogenic inhibition. So anytime you see that, you're going to associate it with the Golgi tendon.
Okay.
How about when an agonist muscle receives a signal to contract, an inhibitory signal is sent to its antagonist muscle, which lengthens?
Reciprocal inhibition.
That's correct. Yep. Yep. They're communicating with each other, and it's that relationship. How about if neural drive decreases to the muscle, what is then created?
Is it called altered inhibition, or?
So when a synergist muscle.
When a synergistic, synergistic dominance.
Yes. So it takes over for the agonist muscle that exhibits a decrease in neural drive. Very good. Let's see. Do you know what is transition from eccentric loading to concentric unloading during the stretch shortening cycle?
Is that the amerization?
Yes, exactly. So it's that middle phase between eccentric and concentric. Good. So yeah, the study guide does a really great job of giving you key terms that you can flashcard and just go over. And especially if those terms relate to certain concepts like the OPT model, or if they're relating to muscle relationships, you can study those knowing that it's going to have a cause and effect, you know, push-pull patterns, muscle imbalances, and how that results in overactive or underactive muscles, where those muscles are in the body. If you can tie those relationships together, knowing that it's a cause and effect visually, mentally, you'll be able to take that scenario into your brain and use a lot of common sense for the exam itself. Because if you can understand why something is happening based, and not just the term, you'll be able to pick out the answer so much faster on the exam, knowing that, okay, common sense is telling me if this is where it is on the body, and suddenly there's a muscle imbalance because the muscles aren't communicating anymore, or the neural drive isn't there, then I know that it's going to result in this short and tight muscle. So then what do I do to that muscle to fix the issue? and it'll help you like logically take yourself through each step so that you can get to the test question answer faster. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, well, thank you for joining today. I hope you have a good rest of the day with your kiddos. Like I said, tomorrow is going to be 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with Chris. He's going to go over some concepts on NASM, and then yeah, the schedule for the rest of the week will be posted, I'm sure, through email if you are plugged into the NASM Elite call. So, and then we also have the community through the app. And if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to me. My Instagram is the.ashley.garcia, or you can message or email Chris or Megan. They're also on Instagram through Show Up Fitness Internship, and then also at Show Up Fitness. So thanks, Jenna. And then we also have the Facebook group, which is posted in our community as well. And that is the Women's NASM CPT study group. So you can always post your questions in there as well.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. We will see you next time. Bye, guys.